Welcome to Mark D. Maker. My name's Mark Taylor, and on this project we're going to be making a chipmunk. Now, one of my favorite wildlife artists, Stinnett Sticks, is his YouTube channel name. Does beautiful work. This is a cane that he did, and I'm going to be using the chipmunk as my pattern. I'll be customizing it a little bit myself. So here I take the printed side, face it out on a window, use the window as a light box, and I trace the image that I see. And instead of the tail going down, I'm going to make the tail going up. Instead of making him sit on a cane, I'll make his feet flat so he sits flat on a mantle or wherever he'll be sitting. And I'll put it over here so you can see what it looks like. That's a real quick and easy way to get a pattern, and you can customize it a little bit as you need. Here I have a piece of basswood, and I'll just make sure it's big enough in all dimensions, and it looks like it's going to be plenty big. I'll orient the grain up and down. And here's my pattern. And you can do this with a picture or a photo from any book. Here I have a glue stick. Now I used to spray adhesive, but I just found this glue stick so much easier. Just goes on real quick and easy. No spraying this. I just needed to stick on the block long enough to cut it out on a bandsaw. Here's the grain orientation, which will help the tail be strong, the ears be strong. The weak areas here will be the feet and the arms, because they're thin, they're small. So these areas will need some attention. Either some real thin super glue put on them or some wood hardener. And then we'll make him flat-footed. So he sits on the mantle. So here I'm back from the bandsaw, and you can see there's my rough blank cut out. Time to get carving. Now here's a little tool that I made for pushing in eyes. It's a nail, and I just cut off the head of the nail, put it in the drill bit, drilled it into this dowel, and then I took a Dremel tool and hollowed out the end to make it concave. So you put it in, give it a twist, and it kind of cuts the eye and burnishes it. And then I carved facets on the dowel so it won't roll away. Now here I'm using a pair of dividers to see about where the spacing for the ears would be. I have my center line on here, and here's where the ears are in relation to the center line. And I'm going to use these marks on the ear here as a reference for a whole lot of different things. We're going to measure from the ears to where the eyes are going to be. We're going to measure from the ears for the spacing. So here's from the ear to the center. So I can see about how far down to carve those ears for height. And these are just kind of rough measurements for right now. I'm getting an idea for what needs to be done, what needs to be removed. I'll see the whitest part of the back here with the dividers. Transfer that measurement to the block of wood, because this block of wood is really much wider than what I needed. So that's about as wide as I need right there. Just two small little marks with the dividers, come back with the pencil. I'll be removing everything outside of that line. I'm going to take a look at the whitest part of the face. And put my boundary lines for the face on there. For the head. I'm locking my finger in this position right here. Make sure I get an equal mark on both sides. Well, I didn't show it here, but I did use the dividers from the ear tips down to the eyes and put a little arc, and then from the nose to the eyes and put a little arc. And that's right where I'm drawing the eyes there, where I have the marks from the dividers, and then just lightly sketching in the face to get an idea. And now we're moving on to the tail. And I'll take the widest part of the tail and sketch that in, leaving plenty of thickness. All right, here's my OCC knife. I'm still having problems with it. The leading edge chipping out. I think it was too much metal taken off of it during the manufacturing process, but it still cuts really well. I might reach out to them and just mention it. Here I'm taking off the edge, but about a 45-degree angle all the way around. Here I'm chipping out. It's like a controlled split. On the face, there's so much to take off here. That is more kind of an advanced move. Be careful if you're new doing that, because you can just split a whole section off. But with time and effort, you'll learn that splitting can save some time. It's kind of a calculated risk, though. I used to have chipmunks come to the back screen door on a regular basis, begging for peanuts. But then we had a skunk move in and underneath our deck, and we had him removed, and then raccoons, and so finally they were all gone, and I'm waiting for the chipmunks to come back, and just just today, a couple of foxes sitting out in the backyard, just curled up under a tree, out in the open. Oh, chipmunks can't catch a break, huh? They're cute. They're considered a ground squirrel. I enjoy watching them. Well, for a Christmas gift, my wife got me this palm set, flex cut. It's a nice set. I've always wanted it. I do have some other palm chisels, but the blades are much thicker. These blades are thin, and they open up a whole new door of opportunity. And I'm looking forward to using it. Might use a little bit on this project. Now, what I will do is when I'm holding a small object like this chipmunk in my hand, carving it, I will use a glove to protect my hand. Some of the worst cuts you can get are from a gouge. As my grandfather used to say, gouge will cut long, wide, deep, and often, and it's the often that hurts so dang bad. Alright, so here I've marked the chipmunk, the wood that I need to remove around the arms and feet. And I will use a gouge on this. The one thing that I'm going to have to be careful about is the wood here in the arms and the feet is cross grain. So I'll be carving this cross grain. It will split out very easily. So you notice as I'm using that chisel, as I leave, I'm kind of pulling up and out a little bit because I see it as you get close to the end, it will split out a chunk, and I don't want to go past my drawn line. There's always repairs, but I'd just rather carve and not have to worry about doing repairs. It kind of wants to dig in a little bit there. So when you're using, if you're not used to using a chisel, and you go to carve across cross grain, it cuts pretty easily, but as you are exiting the wood, it wants to split out. So you just need to be careful with that. And there's an example. There's a good chunk for you. Sometimes operating the chisel on a skew as a skew cut as you turn it. I'm twisting it a little bit, slicing rather than pushing through the wood. That helps a lot. Doing the slicing motion instead of just pushing and relying on the sharp edge. Okay, now we're off to doing some more knife work, and we're just going to, at this point, try to carve to the round. We're going to carve these sides in a gentle arc right to the center line. And we want to do that everywhere with the exception of the bottom, so it'll sit flat. There's a lot of wood to remove here, so you just kind of take your time. Now this is cutting across grain, and it even though I have these chips in the blade that have happened, it's still doing a really nice job of cutting across that end grain. And this is all end grain here. Now, I can't stress enough how important it is to look at your carving and look at your reference as you're carving. You want to constantly make comparisons. And as you can see in the background, I have the little pattern cut out. It's sitting there, I'm looking at it. I have the paper right in my view of my eyes while I'm working on it, constantly referring to it. Don't rely on your memory. Use your reference material. Alright, so now we're taking down the width of the head. As you can see, the head's got a lot of stock on it that needs to come off. We're just working our way down and carving to the round. The head is kind of like an almond shaped when you look at the photograph of the carving. It's almond shaped and the eyes are off to the side at about a 45-degree angle. There you go, you can see it right there. Okay, now what I'm doing here, I'm looking right at the photograph, and I'm looking at the ears, the eyes, the nose, and drawing the head, the lines for the head in, and I see, okay, there's a lot to remove here, so off I go. And there's almost like a little flat spot right before the ears taper in. And I'm hitting that spot right there, kind of making it a little a flat spot that ears taper in, and as then it comes down to the nose, it tapers in. So I'm getting these, working on this shape. Now here I noticed that by observing the photo that the nose and muzzle tapers as it gets closer to the nose. And so I'm putting that taper in, and it does make a big difference. That little taper wasn't really evident until I really studied the photo, and then there it is. Now this is a real important part right here. I'm being very careful. This is going to determine the width of the ears. So I'm tapering in. You can see it's like a scoop cut here. Up to the ears, but I'm leaving plenty of meat on the ears there to be able to carve it down and to be detailed about it. Just kind of roughing out the shape here. But this really starts to change the shape of the head. You see here how it comes back around more almond shape. So this is just a stop cut and then a small wedge so I don't take off anything that I don't want to take off. And I'm using a paring cut here and come right up to my line. I'm using a slicing cut here so it's nice and smooth and nothing splits or breaks off. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting close to your line and then taking it to the line with sandpaper. Sandpaper is a cutting tool. It cuts in a very slow manner, but it does cut and it removes wood. So if you're afraid of getting into a delicate area and removing too much wood, sandpaper is the way to go. So I'm carving across the bottom here. This is cross grain. Just listen to this for a second. Hear that? That's very distinctive of a sharp knife and cross grain. You'll really start to get the feel for the sounds and the way certain types of wood and grains feel. Wow, what do you think of that music? That makes me want to get up and slap my leg or slap somebody one way or another. I don't know. Here's the chipmunk, all sanded, got him nice and smooth. And we got him smooth because we're going to burn in some details. We're going to burn in the fur using like a knife with a rheostat on it. Get it nice and hot. Here's the pictures that I was using as a reference. Pretty close. Looks like I could, up around the ears, I need to do a little bit more work. Bring the head in a little more near the ears. Like that. And so I did not realize that until I sanded them smooth, and then it was obvious that that wood needed to be removed. And so this is the process. It evolves. A piece will evolve as you work on it, and your eyes recognize what needs to be done. So please join me in my next video where I will put the eyes in, detail them, and paint them. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time.